Hello guys and welcome to 1.33. Well, welcome to 1.33 is a little bit of strange things to say after 1 week of patch. But well, as I explained it yesterday in Run with Yam, I was waiting for doing this review until 1 week had passed since the release of the patch. As for the reason why is, well, if you were here in this channel back when 1.31 was released, I made a video the same day the patch was released about the problem with the LA5 and LA7s. They were utterly broken. The thing is that they were hotfixed maybe 24 hours later. So the most broken thing in that patch was hotfixed in 48 hours. So there was actually little room for complaint. I went in too fast. I did my criticism, which was actually warranted criticism, but it was too early because a hotfix came almost instantly. So when 1.33 came and some things, which I'm going to explain later, were really bad. I held my breath. I said, okay, let's wait 1 week and see if there's a hotfix to solve these things. One of them was solved, the rest not. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit criticism, if you allow me to say so. First of all, let me tell you that I don't think the patch is bad. Taking it as an overall view, I think the patch is setting a path towards a good road, but currently is in very bad shape. Let me explain myself. Good things. The introduction of the upgrade system. As you know, there's a new upgrade system that puts a lot of the stuff you have to buy to get your plane performing to the top. Oh, look at that. Huh. Well, and another one. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, there's this upgrade system, and when your plane is upgraded, it does perform well below the top performance for that plane. This, in a sense, adds a sense of grinding planes that wasn't there before. It was to a sense and to a point because you had to grind for structural fixes for better performance and for a new engine and for the ammo belts, and that's still there. But now you also have fuselages, radiator, compressor, and whatnot, and those things also affect your plane a lot. So a stock plane now performs way below what a stock plane performed before the patch. Let me tell you this, I don't think this is bad. It adds sense to a grind that wasn't there before. And to a point, I think grinding, if it's not overdone, helps to get addicted to a game, because you are working your way up, you are working to get your plane to the better shape, and maybe you are really playing to get something in your plane unlocked, and you feel the sense and the need to play one more game just to unlock that one. In that sense, it's good. Also, there's another thing that is good, and that's that these upgrades have a cost. But this cost overall is deducted from the price of the plane when you purchase it. So if you have unlocked a plane you are not interested in, let's say I unlock, I don't know, the Bearcat B, the F8F1B, and I'm not interested in that. I don't want to fly that. I'm really not into that plane. I'm not going to fly it, but I still have to pay it if I want to go on in the tree. So the plane is going to be much cheaper for me to purchase, but I'm not going to have to fly it to get all the unlocks, because I'm not interested in it, and I can advance in the trajectory without paying as much as I did before. So that's good as well. There's complaining about the planes and unlocked status underperforming a lot and having you performing much worse than what you should inside plane if it was deleted. Let me tell you this, I don't think that's the case. Of course, the performance suffers, the weapons are not as accurate, and maybe in some cases, with the Hispano cannons, you get more and easier jams for your cannons. But still, your plane, it's basically the plane you bought. You purchase it. So if you fly your plane right, you are not going to have a lot of trouble. Of course, yes, you are not performing top class, but still you are competitive. Now think of War of Tanks. Okay, another free-to-play game, which is, I think, the reference right now for free-to-play games of this style, to be honest. In War of Tanks, each time you unlock a new tank, you have that tank, yes, unlock it, but you have it at stock. Of course, some modules translate from some tanks to another tanks, so maybe you can translate your engine into the new tank. Maybe you have a gun that you can use in the new tank, but in the overall majority of the tanks, that gun you are not going to use it unless you have a new turret. And if you want a new turret, most of the time you also want new tracks. So take it for instance the worst instance possible, the BK3001P, which is the German tier 6 medium, one of the worst tanks in the game, to be honest. But if it's bad when deleted, when it's in stock, is absolutely terrible. I mean, that thing has a short 75mm gun that's absolutely nothing at its tier. It has an awful armor, and is slower than a mouse because the engine simply isn't up to the task, the stock one. So if you are stuck in that tank, you are forced to spend money to unlock some modules. There's no way around that. Because in the stock tank you are not going to do anything, and you need tracks and turret before you get a proper gun in that tank, and still you are slow as heck. So you are still going to be uncompetitive because you are a medium with no armor, mediocre gun, because the guns you get in the sorry, in that in that tank are pretty much useless, and you can do crap. I mean, a stock tank in World of Tanks is absolutely crap. Most of the cases, some of them are pretty nice, but they are very few and wide apart. Most of the tanks you get in World of Tanks at stock are uncompetitive at the tier, and you are going to suffer a lot unlocking the proper unlocks for that tank to make it fun. Unless, of course, you spend free XP and you spend money, gold, because free XP most of the cases is earned with gold, let's face it. So here is not the case. Here you have the plane with all its abilities, just worse performance and maybe not that accurate guns at long ranges. But who cares? You can still do very good in it. And I can tell you that because I have planes that I have a lot of things without unlocking, and I'm doing well with them. You just have to play your plane right, and that's all that requires. Besides, unless you are at a very high level, the unlocks are very easy to get. Maybe in 1-2 battles you already have the first, and in 10 battles you should have at least all the tiers 3 unlocks if you are doing moderately well. So it's not that big of an issue. It adds slight grind, and I don't think that's bad. There's another thing that I don't think is bad at all, and are the new decals and new skins. For putting this in perspective, I'm going to go to the German tree with the focal point in A5. And let's go to the hangar and see at the camouflage I have all of them unlocked except for 2. White 6 and 2 JG2. Now let's look what does that require to unlock. And that's the problem. Some skins are very hard to achieve. Let's go to the German one and take a look. Focal point A5. White 6, for instance, requires to shut down 120 enemies in Cuban map. And before it was 30. But still, Cuban is not always in rotation. You are not going to get always into Cuban. And maybe you get into Cuban with a different plane. You can't select your plane before knowing the match you are going to get put in. So some unlocks are very hard to get, and some of them are very situational. So if I really want white 6 skin, I can get it by purchasing it. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, I'm not going to do so. I mean, spending money in a decal or a camo, why? I don't see the reason. But for those who really want a different camo set, it's okay. I don't see any problem with that. What I do see a problem is with the conditions to get the skins, because before they were pretty easy to get, let's face it, and now they are too hard. I think they went from one extreme to the other. But well, this is the kind of stuff that eventually you'll get there, so there's no big deal. So I don't see why so much. Besides, this is the decals for money. This is something that Gaijin was actually asked for in the Q&A sessions a lot, to get decals and skins by purchasing it with gold. So they added something it was actually asked. So why putting flag up for them? There's no reason. It's perfectly reasonable. There are a lot of new planes, and some of them are very welcome. For instance, in the American tree, I think they were really needed. The mid gap planes between the P-51 and the jets, because before, from the P-51 up to the Sabre, you have nothing at all. There were 7 tiers of nothing but P-51, and that got old, to be honest. Now you have a couple of Bearcats, which are very cool planes and are properly tiered, by the way. They added them at the proper level they should, so that's cool. You also have a couple of jets in the middle, so that was really needed. Now, what wasn't needed was more Korean jet wars. Korean war jets, sorry. This shooting star is a Korean war shooting star. This is an F-80C. There were some P-80s jets in World War II. Some pre-serial P-80s made it into Italy and actually flew operationally there. Very few, because they were having some serious reliability problems, but they were there. So there's sense, and there's, of course, it makes sense to add a P-80A into the game. But that's an A, not a C. The C had a different engine with more than twice the power, and of course the performance is totally different. This is a Korean war jet. And what's the problem here? That if you go to the Japanese tree, there's no jets there. There's only a rocket plane, and it's useless. The Gaijin 200. Level 17, 4 minutes of fuel, can't land because it's going to break up on landing, which makes no sense because that plane didn't break up on landing. And 4 minutes of fuel. Really? I mean, it's useless. You can be up, if you are careful and you use your fuel with a lot of care, maybe you can be up for 10 minutes, tops. And it's useless. Let's face it. Same with the Germans. The Germans have it better. I mean, at least they have some more jets, but they also have the Comet, which has exactly the same issues as the Japanese one. Has a couple more minutes of fuel. Woohoo! But it's still a World War II plane. The Mi-262 is a 9044 plane, level 19. What the hell is making a Mi-262 with 70,000 lions to repair, making at level 19, when a 9049 F-80C shooting star is at level 18 at cost 33,000 lions to repair? Or a Korean war jet as the F-9F Panther, which cost 24 lions to repair. I mean, this is utter bollocks. This is utter stupid. I mean, the Bearcats were needed. These two things weren't. Or they were needed, okay, but at least add something for the Germans that can compete with those. Or alternatively, make a matchmaking system that only puts Korean war jets against Korean war jets. And then the Japanese won't have that problem, and the German won't have that problem. Because right now it's utterly retarded. You go up in useless jets as the Henkel 162, which is absolutely atrocious. It's a useless plane. And you go up with this and you have to face F-18s, F-9Fs, Jak 17s, or Meteors, which were all planes which belong to a world totally different. So yeah, that's a problem that was before and still is not solved. But before you had to go against MiG-15s. Now it's better because you have to go against Jacks 17s. But still is bollocks. It should not happen. And if the Germans have it bad, really, the Japanese, oh gosh, there's no sense. Really, believe me, there's no sense of grinding the German tree over, the Japanese tree over maybe level 14. Not at all, because at level 15 you are going to start going up against jets all the time, and let's face it, with a sitting guy you can't do crap against a F-80. If the F-80 knows how to fly, of course. So really, why? I mean, they are focusing on trees that don't need no more jets, and they are totally forgetting to trees that desperately need more jets. Desperately, they can't do without jets. Simply can't. And at the moment, what you have is a country without jets and a useless rocket plane, and a country with hugely overtiered jet planes and overpriced, and a useless rocket plane. And that's bollocks. And that's about time to solve. Now, about things about it's about time to stop doing and start doing well. You all know that in 1.31 there was a huge issue with web on some American planes. For instance, the P-47. The P-47 did have no web. If you used your web, you were going to slow down your plane, actually. Overall, I mean, I didn't. The plane did well even without web, but of course it was missing web. Now the P-47 has web. That's cool. That's amazing, and finally it's time for it to have web. But now the problem is that we have two new planes, the F-8F and the F-8F-1B, and those planes have no web. No, really, they don't. It doesn't work. It's exactly the same problem that the P-47 has. And really, Gaijin, have you learned nothing from past problems? Really? It's about time you start doing things right. And if you don't have the planes ready to release, don't release them. Really. Because, I mean, I'm serious, and I was part of the Alpha team once, maybe for 3 weeks only, but I was part of the Alpha team. I know that the tests are supposed to be very harsh. But really, who is testing these things? Who is doing this? Because whoever has tested this thing has done it wrong. Because the web doesn't work, and doesn't work well. And I mean, first time is okay. It happened with the P-47. Okay, well, it happens. It's a beta. They learn, and it's going to go away in the next patch. But in the next patch, you get this fixed and this broken. What the hell is going on? Have you learned nothing? Really? It's about time you start to do things well. And by starting doing things well means not rushing your patches, because this patch was announced 10 days ago and was released after 4 days of the server patch. And what kind of testing is going on in the server in 4 days? And it was open 3 times 2 hours. Really, I think they are rushing things, and that's not good. And personally, I think that's not at all allowable and acceptable. I mean, this is a beta, but that doesn't mean that you have to put things in life that don't work the way they should. And the beta cuts don't work as they should. The Vampire, when released, it had the flight model of a MiG-15. Of course, there was a hotfix 3 days later that fixed it, and now it has a proper flight model. But when released, this plane wasn't ready to be released. Well, then don't release it. It's as simple as that. Why do you release things that are not ready? Don't do that. It's my take, it's my own opinion, and I think they should have learned from previous experiences, because it's not the first time they release something that is not finished and is totally broken. And yeah, well, let's focus on more positive things. As I told you, there are a lot of fixed flight models. The P-47 now has a web. I think the P-38 also has a web. I don't know for sure because I haven't flown this thing yet. The F-4Us now are accurate, so they don't climb like UFOs anymore. They have the proper energy retention they should have, because before they were insane. But now let's move in another thing. Well, you know, in each patch There's a very easy way to know what's overperforming and what's not. Not necessarily broken, overperforming. So let's do a little bit of history here. I'm in War Thunder since this was in 1.25. Okay, barely 1 week later 1.27 was released, so I'm not really into how 1.25 was. But in 1.27 there was a particular plane that was used by everyone in historical battles, and that plane was the LA-5FN. And when Soviet maps were in rotation, it was utterly ridiculous, because you had Soviet teams full of LA-5FNs and you have German teams full of LA-5FNs. Everyone was flying this because it was broken. It was overperforming like mad. It was a UFO with an anti-G thing strapped up its ass. It did absolutely unbelievable things. And so everybody was flying one. Well, 1.29 was released, and the LA-5FN was fixed for a while. And then what happened was that something new was then the new plane of the month, and it was the Dora 13. This plane wasn't broken at all. It actually performed like it should. Later it was nerfed into oblivion, and I'll talk about that in a second, but whatever. The thing is, this plane wasn't overperforming, it was performing well. The problem is that the matchmaking was putting in it against planes that couldn't compete. And actually, even in its tier, nothing can compete with this. This was one of the best planes in the plane set, if not the best. And that's not because the plane was overperforming. It was not. It was simply this good. The problem was that other nations didn't have anything to compete with it, and also because matchmaking was putting this plane against planes that had no chance to fly one against one. If it was well flown, of course, a badly flown Dora was dead meat. But this plane was seeing P-40s, Spitfire 2s. I mean, it was totally unreasonable, and everyone was flying one. You went into the queues, and they were full of Germans flying at level 14. Why? Because everyone was flying the new plane of the month, and that was the time when I stopped flying the thing. By the way, okay, next patch was released 1.31. The Dora 13 was totally nerfed into oblivion by adding 600 kilograms it shouldn't have. I don't know why that happened, but it happened. And a new plane of the month was born, and that was the F4U-C, which is sitting here at level 12. This plane climbed too good, kept energy too good, and had Terminator weapons, so everyone got into one and started doing the ridiculous things this thing could do in 1.31. You could log it into the queues, and you would see half the people in level 12 Americans because they wanted to fly this thing. Yeah, and now 1.33 is released, and they fixed the F4U-1C, but now we have a new moron, well, not moron, a new noob plane of the patch. And believe it or not, that's a British one, and that's the Spitfire Mark 9. And the reason, again, you have seen that I mentioned two planes that were broken, the LL5FN and the F4U-1C. The focal point in Dora was flying as it should. It was not broken. The problem was bad matchmaking. Now we have the Spitfire Mark 9, and the Spitfire Mark 9 is a plane that, without unlocks, is a pretty cool plane at tier 10. I mean, it belongs there. No, I don't. Oh shit. It was a plane that fitted very well there. Now the problem with this plane is that it has one unlock that turns it into a monster, and that's the 150 octane fuel. This particular item was only available for the Spitfire 9s since 1944 onwards, and particularly from late 1944 onwards. Actually, this fuel was issued for the Spitfires that were hunting big ones, but it was not used by operational units over the continent was not widespread use until December 1944, which means that with this fuel, this plane performs like a late 1944 plane, early 1945 plane, but is still sitting at tier 10, and that's absolutely bollocks. It's not that with this fuel the plane is an UFO. It's not. It performs according to historical standards. It actually performs as it should. But the problem is that with this performance, this plane doesn't belong to this tier. Not because performance, but because this fuel was used in a date is not warranted for tier 10. So we have a plane that without this fuel should be tier 10, 12, maybe. Well, let's face it, without any unlocks this plane is cool at tier 10. It actually should be tier 9. With the engine unlock, this turns this from a Merlin 61 Spitfire into a Merlin 66 Spitfire. Merlin 66 started flying in late 1945 and 43. So it should be level 12. Beginning, that's the first thing. And then if you have these things here, you are making this plane into a 1945-1. And it's still tier 10, and it's still facing planes that have absolutely no hope against it. Unless, of course, the Spitfire is a stupid driver, and we are again exactly in the same place we were in 1.29. We have a plane that is not broken, is not OP, but is utterly broken because of the tiering system. This plane makes no sense at tier 10 with that unlock. And it's totally cruising the mid-tier playing games in historical battles. I gave up flying British and Germans in historical battles in tiers from 6 to 12 because I was going to face this thing, or I was going to fly with this thing by my side. And in either case, it's bollocks because this plane doesn't belong there. It's a level 14 at the very least, and it's a level 15 being reasonable, but at the very least it's a level 14. So it's breaking the game in the middle. I only play mid-tier games with the Americans and the Russians right now. And the Russians sometimes have to face this thing, so go figure. So really, again, Gaijin, have you learned nothing from the past? Because what you just have done, because this unlock is not needed for this plane, it's a 1942-1, and the 1942-1 never, again, no I don't, never had this thing available. So you added something that makes no sense. So you have two options. You add a late Spitfire Mark 9, which has a Merlin 66 engine and has this as an unlockable, and put that late Spitfire 9 at level 13-14, and you quit this thing. Maybe what they are doing is putting this as a step for the future for getting level based on the unlocks you have. And that would be cool, to be honest, because that would mean that you would have a level 10 or level 9 Spitfire Mark 9 with a Merlin 61. With the engine unlock, you would get a Merlin 66 plane or a Merlin 70 plane, which is a 1943 at level 11 or 12, which would be cool. And then with this, you would get a level 14 or 15, and basically with the same plane you could have different tiers. And that would save you from purchasing a late Spitfire Mark 9, so saving you money. That would be cool, but again, if that's the plan, add this when that's ready, not before, because you are rushing things and they are breaking the game. And this is breaking the game. This is a game breaker. Well, not a game breaker, I mean, you still can fly and still can do, I mean, most of the players who play this game have not a clue on how to fly. And it doesn't matter which kind of plane they are flying, because they are going to do terrible with any of them, whatever the performance is. But the problem is there are also people who are competent, and with this thing they are absolute monsters at a tier they don't belong to. And is 1.29 all the time, all the same again. This time without a focal point any. This time with a Spitfire. And it was bollocks back then, and it's bollocks right now. This plane makes no sense at tier 10 with that unlock. So really, quit that unlock. Delete that unlock until you decide how you are going to implement this, so it's in its proper tier. Maybe adding a late Spitfire Mark 9, or maybe adding a level system based on the unlocks you have. But right now this can't happen in the game, and it's happening. And that's something that again I think is because they are rushing the introduction of new things. And again, this is beta. Yes, this is a time where we are checking things. Absolutely right. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be reasonable, because this is reason. I mean, this is just being reasonable. This is just common sense. You can't add this stuff at level 10 because it's going to destroy. And of course, what happens? That everyone is flying one of these, and it's the new plane of the month. It's the new plane of the patch, and it's going to happen all the time. I mean, because I don't know if they don't have the foreknowledge of this, what this is going to happen. But let's face it, this is a multiplayer game, and everyone is going to abuse the system if they can, because this is the way multiplayer games go. People who have some self-respect don't abuse it. So I won't fly the Spitfire 9, the same I didn't fly the F4U1C, the same I didn't fly the Focke-Wulf any Dora. But people will abuse the system. Because people want any unfair advantage they can have in order to destroy other players. But that's not fun when you are in the receiving end. And really, Gaijin, you should know this by now. I mean, you should have enough preparation to do that. So again, don't add things before they are ready. Don't add a meteor before it has its flight model. Don't add beer cats if they don't have proper web. Don't add 150 octane fuel for Spitfires if they are not going to raise its level, because it can't happen that way, because it's going to break your game, and this is what's happening. And also, while I'm at it, it's about time. You can see that I have the Bullfighter in my lineup, don't you? Well, I actually flew this thing a lot last 2 days. Gaijin, is about time, really. 4 patches have gone by since I came into War Thunder, and these things are not fixed yet. This thing is so fucking broken, it's utterly ridiculous. Please fix this thing. The same goes for most of the twin engine bombers and twin engine planes in this game. Fix the Bullfighters, fix the Mosquito, fix the Dornier 217, fix the A20G, fix all those things, because they are broken beyond redemption. Please! And I'm not making this out of my ass. The Bullfighters can do stuff they shouldn't. The Dorniers can do things that they shouldn't. Please fix them. It's about time. Stop adding things into the game before you fix the ones that are already into the game. Because what you are doing is adding problems, not solving the ones you are having yet. So, really, that's my take in 1.33. There are a lot of new stuff that are pointing things into the right direction. I like the new economy things. I like the new unlockables. I like the new decals. I like the new options you have. By the way, gun pods in the Germans don't use them because they are useless. In the Focke-Wulf 180 in particular, these pods destroy the plane, so don't use them. In the Focke-Wulf 180 as well. In the BF-109, sorry, well, you can do with them, but still they are going to hurt your performance, and I really don't fly the 109s with gun pods because it's not worth it. Really, it isn't. But in the 190, really, there's no sense in using this stuff unless you are going only against bombers. But whatever, there are options. They are cool. It's nice to have these options. It's cool. It's pointing the right direction. They are moving right into the right direction with these things. But still, broken flight models into planes they are adding. Planes, they shouldn't be added until a Korean War matchmaking is into place. Totally forgotten trees. The Japanese tree is shameful. Really, it's a shame for Gaijin that they haven't added anything over level 17 for the Japanese tree. And they should soon. And they really don't learn from past experience. When the door infestation happened, they should have learned that you can't put a plane that's overly powerful at a level it's going to break the matchmaking. And now we have the Spitfire 9. Really, they didn't learn anything. And of course, they haven't fixed things yet. They are fixing some stuff. The LA5 now and the LA7, they actually fly like they should. They are still at levels they don't belong to, but still they're no longer broken, and they were broken beyond redemption, believe me. These things could climb at 100 kilometers per hour. They couldn't stall at that speed. They are fixed now, so cool. But still, you have this thing here, which is an absolute UFO. Climbs better than most planes, and you can go at 8,000 meters with it with an open cockpit, and no one cares. This thing is insane. It's broken beyond prevention and not fixed yet. The same with the twin engine planes. The SV bombers are still utterly broken. The Mosquitoes, the broken fighters, the Dornier 217s. Really, Gaijin, please. I mean, this is my opinion, this is my take, and this is an advice you may not want or not need. Who knows? You are the ones making this game, not me. But take one patch to fix what's already into the game. And that's nothing new. Just fix what's into the game. Take your time, because you need it. Really, it's about time you fix some things that are long overdue. And it's time you start getting your act together and stop adding broken things into the game. You have an alpha testing team that should properly test things before they are released. You have a dev server that you should use widely for the people in the game to test things properly and tell you what's broken and what's not. And you should keep that dev server open for longer than 4 days and 2 hours a day, because that way it's impossible to test things. And take your time and fix this stuff. And stop adding planes with broken web, please, because these things piss people off. And not that I care, this plane is exceptional, even without working web. The same that the P-47 was exceptional without working web, but still should have working web, and they don't. Really, learn from your mistakes. It's okay if you do something wrong, but at least learn from it, so it doesn't happen again. That's my take. So yeah, that's 1.33 for me. A lot of good things and a lot of bad things. I like 1.33 because it's pointing the right way. There are some things that are pretty good, and I like the new unlockable system. I like the new upgrade system. I knew the new options you have: gunpowders, rockets, etc. They are moving in the right direction. But the problem is that they are taking wrong steps too. Not because, I mean, we know that by the end, this is not going to happen. When this is in full release mode, all these problems won't be there. But really, that this is a beta doesn't mean that we should cope with this, because it's so easy to avoid. It's so damn easy. Just not adding the 150 fuel for the Spitfires. Just fixing the stuff that needs fixing soon. Just stop adding planes to trees that don't need them, as the Russian. Why did these guys need a new like GG3 or a Yak 17? As if they don't have enough yet. Please take your time and put some for the Japanese. That's the thing. But overall, you might think that I'm very negative, but I think it's the time that someone tells them clearly what they are doing wrong. At least from an outsider point of view. I'm not the one doing this game. I'm not in the power to tell them what to do. But really, I can't tell my opinion. And that's my opinion. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a lot of criticism, but it's what I think. I hope you enjoyed anyway. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and see you later.